but I thought that that was kind of fascinating and cool that I went ahead and conducted some research in advance of this video. In the past couple of months, I've realized that I look forward to not the plans that I've scheduled, but the plans that I've scheduled being over. You know, even when those plans are fun and I want to do them, I feel very uncomfortable with that. So we're gonna explore this in this video. So in this video, we're going to talk a bit about being flaky, or the desire to be flaky, or the desire to cancel plans and hope that there aren't consequences. We're going to talk about making realistic plans, and we're going to be talking about anticipatory anxiety. So let's get into it. So basically, these are different things that contribute to my desired flakiness without consequences. So like, I'm not always flaky, but I would like to be in pretty much every instance, in that I'd rather this thing be over or canceled than to have it happen. And I don't think this has anything to do with not knowing the things I have fun at, because I will still be at some points excited about these things, but at other times I will be like, I'd rather not. I think a lot of us experience this. I'm just nervous with that's the default for me, instead of, just being excited for this upcoming thing that I've been, waiting for. So the first thing that contributes is my tendency to overestimate my energy and capacity in the future. So if someone were to reach out to me and want to plan something, I will look like very baseline at the calendar, and my calendar will just have events that I've got to be somewhere for, or just like very specific things. It doesn't have things in there like life maintenance. And so it looks, it could look free on the weekend with only one other thing scheduled. So I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Pencil that in, pen that in, type that in. But what I haven't considered is, for example, if it's a Friday night, I will have worked an entire week and I might not be feeling up to it after that. I might feel drained. Second thing is, like I mentioned, I didn't think about the life maintenance side of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So whether that's cooking dinner, going to the grocery store, getting the laundry done, like I tend to underestimate that kind of stuff. So then it puts me in a pickle and I get stressed about the time that I have available to me, like space-wise. So simply put, I need more space and like free area of unscheduled time than I think I do, because there are these like life things that come up. The next thing that contributes to this flakiness, that's just what I'm gonna call it, is the idea that I have to schedule things within the week. So again, if someone reaches out, or I get this idea to see this one person or do this one thing, like for some reason I have a very, very strong urging within me that it needs to be scheduled within a week, 7 days. There's just like this internal clock that starts if there's been a mention of a plan. And I don't really know why that is, because I keep a very well-maintained personal calendar and work calendar. And these are digital calendars. I can look at the next month until infinity time, until this earth doesn't even exist anymore. I bet you can go there on your phone. So that means that I can plan in advance. There's no like, I'm gonna forget that this is coming up. There's none of that. But if I'm being honest with you, what I think is that the people I'm scheduling things with, friends, for example, aren't gonna remember that far out, or because maybe they don't have a calendar, I don't know, or that they expect that this must take place like within the week for some reason. And again, I don't know why I think that. So I think I sort of have this bias of making things immediate. I don't think it's the immediacy bias. I think that's a specific definition, but I have a bias of emphasizing how quick plans need to be had or made. And I tried to collect some data on as far as, do my friends keep calendars? So I put this in a group chat and this is what I found. So the first question I asked was, what kind of calendar do you keep? The choices were they keep a digital calendar, they keep a physical calendar or a planner, both, neither. 6 people said they keep a digital calendar. 3 people said they keep both or a combo. And then 1 person said they keep a mental calendar, which inevitably means indubitably that they will forget, which is funny. But I thought that was kind of fascinating and cool that I went ahead and conducted some research in advance of this video. Next thing that contributes to wanting to flake or having anxiety around having this plan and wanting it to be over is that I never actually wanted to attend this in the first place, or I knew that I didn't have time, or I wouldn't have capacity to really like be okay with doing this, and I either wasn't able to or I felt guilty saying no, or I didn't know how to. Saying no, of course, is something that I think everyone's working on. If you're not working on it because you're fantastic at navigating that, then we should talk. But I have a video from 2020 and I have a blog post from 2020 that's about like the art of saying no. So I'm gonna link those down below. I can also do a new video on that if that one seems out of date. Those will be linked. And the final thing, and I think I probably should have said this earlier, but if you clicked on this, you might have thought that I was going to be talking about social anxiety disorder, which is fair. But, you know, with my dilemma, and I'm not a mental health professional or I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a clinician, okay? But to my understanding of social anxiety disorder is I do not experience that. Social anxiety disorder, I'll read you the definition, is an intense, persistent fear of being watched and judged by others. That's not what I'm worried about or anticipating problems with when I think about these plans that I have, is not being watched or judged by others, that kind of thing. Especially when it's like I have plans that I made with my friend this weekend. However, I do think that it is quite a bit closer to Sunday Scaries. Sunday Scaries are what we get, you know, on Sunday. Wow, so I just defined that for a nation, for the world just now, internationally. Now you know what that means. Of the week, you know, of the week ahead, of things that are gonna come this week, and you just kind of feel like dread toward it. I think what I experience are the social scaries. So I don't think it's true social anxiety, and it's definitely not social anxiety disorder, I don't think, for me. But I do think it's like the social scaries. And I want to talk a little bit about anticipatory anxiety. I'm going to talk about this for the rest of the video. It's going to take a few minutes. Okay, so if you're still with me, anticipatory anxiety is one, very hard to say. Two, it's very confusing to me. So I spent the time working on this video looking at what this meant, because I think that is what my social scaries are. They're anticipatory anxiety. So anticipatory anxiety is not a disorder. It's not in the DSM. But it's considered a symptom of other anxiety disorders, such as social anxiety disorder. So you could have social anxiety disorder, and one of your symptoms is particularly anticipatory anxiety, for example. You could also just have anticipatory anxiety as a quote unquote normal person who doesn't live with a mental illness, but just, you know, has the normal feeling of anxiety. This is a normal feeling too at times, the anticipatory anxiety. That's also fair. And it says anticipatory anxiety is excessive worry about a future event and something that's been scheduled. My confusion is one website said that and another website said like that thing hasn't even been planned yet. It's basically imaginary. Whatever you're thinking about is imaginary. So those are very different things. One is like, it's gonna be this week. The other one's like, you're just sitting around thinking of something that like could happen in the future. Those seem different to me. From the website Very Well Mind, I just wanna read this to you. This is me figuring this out with you, by the way. So this is not educational, but rather awareness around the fact that this is something that's named. They give this example on verywellmind.com of the fear of flying, aerophobia. It says, when you have flight anxiety, you are perceiving the present and experiencing fear in real time. You are sitting in a seat on a real plane and worrying about the takeoff. Or you might feel anxious if you hear a strange noise in flight. In other words, like picture me on the plane right now and I'm feeling anxious about being on this plane right now. Then it says, in contrast, if you have anticipatory anxiety about flying, you are afraid of an imaginary plane and what might happen if you get on the plane. And you could be imagining like one or a variety of possible in-flight disasters. You're thinking in advance of the anxiety you'll be feeling and feeling as a result, feeling anxiety in the current moment when you're not actually doing that thing. My thing is like, that's almost all of the anxiety that I feel, you know, within my generalized anxiety. I think that my anxiety, my generalized anxiety, just as a person, is like almost entirely anticipatory. It's very meta. So it's like, okay, so I'm having anxiety about something that in the future I'll have anxiety about, or in the future I really don't want to happen. Like, for example, I have a problem with medical things. I think about that when I don't have anything scheduled, that kind of thing. That's anticipatory. If I was in the doctor's office, whatever, that makes sense that I would have that anxiety, fear. But in advance, I thought that's also just anxiety, but it's got a more specific name. I don't know if that made any sense, but I just wanted to bring forth this term that I hadn't heard before, that I think just like the awareness around it could actually help us in dealing with the social scaries, because we'd be like, oh, I'm anticipating. That's me anticipating this upcoming event. Oh, it's anticipatory anxiety, you know, and then you can sort of think of social scaries as a type of as a sister to Sunday scaries, and anything that helps you with Sunday scaries would likely help you with social scaries as well. I just don't think they're talked about quite as much. Again, it's not the same thing as having social anxiety, which is like in the moment fear of like being perceived, saying something wrong, just like feeling very self-conscious. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.